Welcome to our blockchain and crypto series again. Today we have Shannon Robner again with us. Shannon is a second generation builder, fourth generation realtor with over 250 million in personal transactions. Shannon is an active syndicator in many markets with over 100 million in assets under management. Shannon is also building out a digital securities platform for investors and syndicators to create wealth and liquidity using blockchain technology. Before we get started, a small little disclaimer. This presentation is strictly for educational purposes and should not be considered as a legal, accounting, or investment advice. This presentation does not represent an offer to sell or a solicitation of an offer to purchase an investment or security. The strategies mentioned in the presentation may not be applicable for everyone. So please consult your own attorney, financial advisor, CPA for all legal matters, investments, or any specific tax situations. This particular session is just for educational purposes only. Shannon, how are you today?
Good, Vinky. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm so excited to learn
Always,
more from you.
it's always great to see you. I really enjoy our conversations because it's not too many people that have made the leap like you have from real estate to blockchain and really working to connect the two. So I always like getting together with you because it challenges me.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. Likewise. Likewise. So, what are you going to be talking about today? Are you going to be sharing your project? Do you have
Yeah.
some screen share
So
or? Mhm.
So one of the things that we've talked about before is just the process, the thought of tokenization or digital securities, and how that really fits into the world of title. And what about you've taken a project through due diligence and now you're going to buy the project, and what are you going to do beyond that, and how are you going to continue to keep all of that capitalization table straight and everything like that, and smart contracts and all those things. And really what we've done, in our process is we've identified people that we can partner with that are really good at their part.
Mhm.
And then we put together a platform format that allows you to really come at it from the standpoint that I am the syndicator, I have underwritten it, I have done my due diligence, and now I want to bring it to the world and I want to tokenize it, but I got to go find all this stuff and I got to meet with these guys and I got to get this part going and I've got to get a transfer agent to happen, and I've got all these different things that happen because when you start to transfer securities back and forth, all of a sudden you've got broker dealers licenses that need to be involved and
Mhm.
all of these things. And so we've really worked at bringing all that together, and I wanted to take an opportunity and show you exactly what we've built and just kind of walk you through how that has all come together and how we have simplified that.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to share my screen, and I hope you can see it.
Yes, of course I can see it.
So my platform is called My Vertical Equity. And
Mhm.
My Vertical Equity is built on the concept of, Vinky, what do we need the most? We
Mhm.
need equity for our deals that allows us to go vertical, but it also brings in everybody and really levels the playing field,
Mhm.
because this is something that as it begins to evolve and get bigger, it will allow the denominations to get smaller. A lot of times as syndicators, we don't want to deal with $5,000 investments or
Mhm.
$500 investments. And so we limit that because it's tedious. It's a lot of work. The whole process that we go through with our platform takes all of that work off of the syndicator. All of the cap table management of whose money it is and when did it trade and all that stuff is all taken care of by third parties now. And it really frees syndicators up to just enjoy
Mhm.
what they put together, the underwriting they put together, and it really allows the the tables to level and everybody to be involved. So with that, you come to our platform and you decide you want to invest now. By clicking on our platform, you're going to come into a place where we take care of all of the KYC and AML, which is know your customer, and anti-money laundering, right? The two things that we really, really don't want to be in trouble with. And the thing that we want to make sure that we do is we want to make sure that we take care of getting all of that done. In our platform, when you go through this and when you first come on board, you're going to answer the questions. You're going to attest that either you're a sophisticated or unaccredited investor, or you're going to attest that you're an accredited investor. It's going to go through the whole process, just like if you've set up a Coinbase account. It's going to take a picture of your driver's license. It's going to take a picture of you. It's going to verify that you are who you say you are. You're going to go through that process, and you're going to, we actually take care of that attestation before you ever get to the platform. So we know if you're an accredited investor, you can look at the C deals and the B deals. If you're not an accredited investor, then you're only going to be looking at the 506B deals, right?
Right.
So it keeps it square for all of us. So in this account, I've already set myself up, and I am an accredited investor. And so then you come to the platform, and it allows you to look at our different projects. So we have it kind of broken into some different categories. If you like light industrial, Vinky, you would fit over here in the female-led projects, right? Which really is kind of tooting the horn of some of the smarter people that I've seen in the underwriting field are definitely females, because they pay a little bit more attention to detail, if you know what I mean. Then you've got, the multifamily, you've got your crypto projects that we see building out. We're going to wind up building out more of these as we evolve. We'll obviously have a storage category at some point. We've got some green projects that are coming on that they are very eco-friendly, and that's the design of the project. But let's just say that you're looking at it and you want to get into the multifamily. And again, you're going to say that you're an accredited investor. And then you're going to come to our offer wall where you can see the 4 different projects we have. Summertown, we closed out a couple of weeks ago. But if you wanted to invest in the Greenhurst project, you would be able to look at what the project is. You can click on it, and it gives you the full layout right here of what it is. You've got the business plan, you've got the location, you've got the sponsor's bios. Handsome guy right there, I tell you.
I know.
The clear into the offering document, so you can get straight into the PPM. You can get all of your information right here. So when you look at this from the syndicator side, there's a lot of people that have a great idea, that understand what they want to do, that don't understand how to do it. We bring that part to them. So really, with basic documentation, we will be able to onboard your project and create these documents for you, allow you to be a part of the platform, get started, get going, and not have all of the things that you have to figure out as a syndicator. We can figure out a lot of that for you and bring that together for you. So you've got the ability to find those items. You also, you've got your offering memorandum, you've got your subscription book, all the way down to your wiring instructions to fund the deal. And so you're able to see your different deals, and you can invest in the project. When you go to invest, you're able to tell us what you want, go through this process. We're currently right now working on our interaction and our integration with Coinbase. That should be coming on very shortly, where you be able to come into the platform in either fiat or USD, and be able to do that. So you'll be able to confirm the units you want, whether you want units or USD, and then confirm the amount.
This is so similar to the investor portal, right? Any of the investor portals out there.
Yeah, it's
Until
very
now.
similar. Correct.
So now here is gonna be little change, or the caveat over here is because you will have an option either to invest in the fiat or use the crypto, right? And then once I say, okay, I want to invest maybe $50,000, and I just say is the fiat, and would it convert automatically into the digital currency, or do I have to change it to the digital before I wanted to invest?
So the difference is, currently we are buying our projects in fiat,
Uh-huh.
right? So we're taking in fiat to then tokenize a digital asset, right? And so the reality is if you came and you put in UST or USD, we would be okay with that, but we would have to convert that to fiat to make the purchase, right? So that's really where we're at right now, because as we're onboarding an asset in its original form, there's that part where you have to go purchase the asset, right? So when we're onboarding the asset, it's one thing. Then once the asset is onboarded, it's already been tokenized and people want to trade in the tokens, then that becomes a different process where that's going to go through the transfer agent, and that can happen with a different something other than fiat currency, right? So when you're originally investing in an asset, we are just like you would do in your regular syndication. We are collecting the cash. We have the bank loan on this side. We're then going to go to escrow. We're going to buy the asset. We're going to spend the cash, and then we're going to use the bank loan to fund the rest of the project. And then at that point, we've gone through the process of tokenizing the asset, and your wallet will represent that you have, in this case, these share prices, the token prices are $1 fiat. So you would receive 50,000 tokens from this project into your digital wallet. Okay.
So I'm going to interrupt over here. I have a couple questions here. So up till now, whatever you showed me, to me, is just like a simple syndication deal that we do day to day using any investor portal. So invest with whatever amount, 50,000, 100,000, whatever the amount is set up for that particular investment. So after that, you said you go through the whole process. So you close the deal. After the closing, you tokenize it.
Correct.
So
Yes.
okay, so can you help us understand that what does that process look like, and what is the benefit of that? Because once you tokenize it, because right now I know I invested $50,000 and maybe it's equivalent to 1 unit or 10 units in the property. So once you close that deal and then you tokenize it, what do I have? What do I relate to at that point? That's what I wanted to understand from you.
So just the same as your syndication, in your syndication, you would send out paperwork that they would DocuSign. That DocuSign would say you have 50,000 shares or 5,000 shares if you're doing them, or 500 shares, depending on your denomination. And then you have those 500 shares, and they're paper, and they're not really tradable. There's not a lot you can do with it. When we do the tokens, then you have the 50,000 tokens in your smart wallet in your possession. Okay. So now you have that ability after your AML, which is your anti-money laundering determination, whether that's if you're doing a 506B or a 506C, that's 365 days. If you're doing a Reg A plus, a CF, then those are shorter time periods before you can then trade those. Once that becomes tradable, this issuer is Greenhurst Meadows, and that would create a Greenhurst token. Okay. So you have the Greenhurst token. One of the other aspects of our site that we're doing is we're working with another company called Invinium. And Invinium has an incredible process, and they're creating a sidechain token that they are going to be able to provide us with a mark-to-market on this property every single month. Think of it like this. We are providing, when we do all of our due diligence, we have the financials, we have the market study, we have the condition report, we have, who all the tenants are, we have everything in there, and we have all this information, and then we put it in a file drawer, and it sits there. And then we have a property management company that they come in and they say, okay, we need to hire the guy that fixed the toilet. We need to hire the guy to do the cleaning. We need to hire the guy that does the lawn mowing. And all of these guys have invoices and reports that tell you what goes on with your property. think about compiling all of that and putting it on chain. And as you know, blockchain is a technology that takes all the information from today's block and it puts half of it in tomorrow's block and then writes the new information in tomorrow's block, and then it builds on that. So if you think about your due diligence, you started out day one and you bought the property and you put all of your due diligence on the initial Genesis block.
Mm-hmm.
And now here comes your invoices for the month, and the lawnmower guy says, I replaced 2 sprinkler heads, $45. I mowed the lawn, I repaired this, I blew out the sprinklers, I fertilized, I did all this stuff. The plumbing contractor comes in and he fixed this line in A103, and that's all there. All of this goes in and gets put into the second block. It gets written on chain. Mm-hmm. Now, Invenium comes in with their AI. They look at it and they also see that the person in G104 moved out and a new person moved in and the rent went up, right? All of this is read by the AI. All of that is then sent out to a third party. That third party, whether it's CBRE or FFL, will come back, FLL, they will come back and they will give you essentially an appraisal every single month. So think about this. If you're coming in and you're a brand new syndicator and you've got this business plan and you've told everybody that you're going to reduce expenses, you're going to increase rents, and everybody said, you know what, Vicky, that's a really great thing. Why don't you come back to me once you've exited? Mm-hmm. Once you've proven that you can do it, why don't you come back to me? That could be years. With our particular product, you're going to be able to see that on a monthly basis. So you'll be able to go back to people and go, remember how I said I was going to reduce expenses? Uh-huh. I've owned the property now for 5 months, and CBRE is saying that I reduced the expenses. Remember how I said I was going to increase the revenues? Independent third-party valuation here from CBRE or FLL says that I've done that because their AI has gone through and read every single bit of my information that I've been compiling, and I've been putting it in file cabinets for everybody to kind of come sort through later. Now that's all going to be in there. So when you see this, now that it's been tokenized and you've seen it become an asset with tokens, you're going to be able to click on the Invenium link and it's going to take you to the value that when you bought this, we bought this this Greenhurst asset. Let's back up here just a screen, and we're going to look at it. We bought this, the project overview. The business plan is to build it out. Let's see, 15.3 million, okay? And we've got it built now, and we've brought the tenants in, and now our third-party valuation says that this asset's now worth $16 million.
But this is the raise amount, or is the total amount 15.3 million? So this is like
15, that is the, you're right, that is the total amount, and it's gotten stuck in the wrong line, so we'll get that fixed. The project costs are forecasted at $12.9 million. This is the raise amount with the financing, with everything else, with the land. So now when you see that, you're able to look at that and go, wow, my asset, somebody independent of Shannon says that we have an asset that's now worth $16 million, which means that my $50,000 is now increased. So now when you're going to trade that token, it's like having a P&E ratio for that token if you were looking at a stock, right? Because you can now see that I've got somebody else independent of me that says that this asset has gone up in value. I've got somebody independent of me as the syndicator that's saying that I'm executing on my business plan, right? So you're able to see very clearly how your asset is doing, and in that, you're able to provide inside information to other traders as to what the value is of your 50,000 initial investment.
Interesting. So let me ask you one question before we go further. So initially we started with the USD or the fiat currency. We invested, like say, as a single investor, invest 50,000. That's the number we are saying we go with for now. So the deal is closed as a regular deal, right? We purchased the property and now you tokenize the property, right? So
Yes.
when you tokenize the property, the tokens are issued to all the investors, right? Depending upon their contribution. So what are the tokens backed by? They are backed by the property itself, right?
Correct.
So
They are backed
what
by
do
the physical
investors get
asset.
at that point? Because I'm assuming the PPM was there for the previous transaction that was closed. All the offering docs are related to the transaction for the fiat currency or the USD. So now you have tokenized it. So at this point, what are the investors getting so that they know, okay, the tokens that they're holding, they really have some value. They are not just like, oh, you're holding the tokens because the property was tokenized.
Well, the tokens, when you follow that tokenization process, that's all tied in with a smart contract.
Okay.
Inside that smart contract is the PPM, is the offering memorandum, is everything that you would normally sign in a paper copy. It's all in there. So you own a share or the shares that you bought of the actual asset. So really, we think of tokens because in my opinion, we don't know what else to call it, but you have a digital asset at this point that has at a dollar nominal value, you're going to have 3,935,000 tokens that are created that make up the ownership of this property. Okay. So from there, that's how you're going to receive your dividends based on the number of tokens that you have, shares that you have, digital securities that you own are all monitored the same way, right? So now when you want to sell some of those, let's say for easy math, you bought at 50,000 and now the value of the project has given you a $60,000 value fiat, and you want to liquidate some of that. Okay. When you go into the trading portion of this platform, you will be able to trade those back to UST or USD. Your choice. At that point, you can then liquidate those and then move into another asset or move them back to your account and convert them back into your bank account should you want to do that.
Oh, interesting. So in the PPM, PPM is for, again, I would say for the fiat currency, right? So when you tokenize it, does the PPM say that the property is going to be, or this asset is going to be tokenized?
Yes.
And then you're going to have the digital. So the PPM is going to be still applicable when you have a tokenized property.
Right. And what all you're doing when you think about the tokenization process, all you're doing is you're taking that everything that you would create in a paper copy, you're creating that in a digital copy, and you're locking it into a smart contract.
Okay.
Then once you do that, then you involve a cap table manager. And that cap table manager says today on October 8th, Vinky owns 50,000 tokens.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow, Vinky sold 8,000 of her tokens for $1.15 a piece, right? When you really think about it, when we deal with our investors, we like to have a higher dollar amount because it means that there's fewer investors that we have to communicate with on the syndicator side.
Right.
But in this, I can really see where there's going to be people that are going to buy $300,000 worth to turn around and sell them in $500 increments at $1.10 the day they can. Why? Because that cap table manager, who is a separate person from the syndicator, is tracking all of this and is talking to the transfer agent that's transferring the ownership, all the things that we as syndicators would have to do that would make us pull out our hair. This is all happening by third parties and is all SEC compliant because these guys are broker dealers and licensed with FINRA.
Oh, interesting.
So they take care of all of the things. And so if anybody's going to get in trouble, it's not me. Because Vinky, as you know, I don't look good in orange. I don't want to hang out with Bernie Madoff, right? I don't want to create any of these situations that put me on the wrong side of the SEC. Right. And so by involving those guys in that cap table management, when you want to sell you can. When you want to look at maybe doing a DeFi product where you're coming in and you're saying, you know what, I see where I have $50,000 in this investment, and I want to DeFi it. I want to borrow against it and get 50% LTV and go into another investment, you can do that in this platform and in this format, right? And so as we evolve and as we work through these different steps, this platform is going to become more and more agile in allowing you to do things that you normally couldn't, because as a syndicator, I don't want to know that it's not that I really care if you got a loan against your shares. I just don't want to have to deal with it, right?
Exactly, the processing and all that headache.
Right. And so if I've got a cap table manager and I've got a transfer agent that deals with all of those things, I don't really care what you do, because the contract is locked electronically that says what I have to do, right? And in that, I'm okay, right? And so those are the kind of things that make it very easy for us to transfer that, make it very easy for us to keep a sane head and still just do our job as syndicators while our investors are doing some of this other stuff. One of the other exciting partnerships that we've got going that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks is we are partnering with one of the largest crypto IRA firms out there.
Nice.
That they're going to be able to bring their crypto knowledgeable clientele to our platform to invest in through their IRAs, right? And so now you're going to be able to combine multiple platforms where you're investing, maybe you've made a ton of money in Ethereum in your IRA, right? But if you sell your Ethereum, you have a tax benefit or tax difficulty, but if it's done inside your IRA, you're not having to deal with that. Maybe you've done a DeFi of that Ethereum and you've got $100,000 fiat liquid that you're now moving into real estate to create cash flow. There's all of these different things that can happen that are all in that blockchain space, that are all happening that weren't even possible a year ago, right? I mean, when you think about it, there was no way for you to get a loan against your paper copy of your contract in the last syndication you did. This will allow that to become possible.
That's true. Yeah, more liquidity, which is good.
It really is.
Yeah, so at this point, I think it's so new. So once you tokenize it, what kind of view investors will have into it, into their tokens? It's like I'm not sure if there's any web interface yet, right, to track their tokens, whatever they got.
Yes. So the reality is with Invenium, so this is the great thing, right? So Vinky, you and I have been involved in deals on both the GP and the LP side. And we get this newsletter every once in a while where, sometimes the GP says, it's been a great quarter. Sometimes they just send you a check, right? Sometimes you don't even know why you got your money. And even though you got your money, you don't know what the asset's worth, right? I mean, the syndicator told you that when he was done with his value add and he was done raising the rents, it was going to go from an $8 million asset to a $10 million asset. But you don't really know if he got all the rents he said he was going to get, right? This is the beauty of the platform, because with our partnership with Invenium, you're going to be able to see that what CBRE said your asset was worth, right? What a major appraisal company has said your asset is worth on a quarterly basis. You're going to be able to look at that and go, not only did Joe or Jane, the syndicator, say they were going to get to a $10 million value, CBRE said they achieved a $10 million value. So now I can go put my tokens on the platform and realize that my $100,000 investment has now become worth $130,000 of fiat, because that's how we all calculate. And I want to sell 30,000 of that and go into another deal in North Carolina. I've heard about this really great storage ground up development that's coming in North Carolina. If you know who the syndicator is, just go ahead and smile. There we go. We know who the syndicator is. All right. So I found this other deal that I want to go into, and I want to liquefy, or I have a medical emergency, or I have a kid going to college, or I never really liked the 10-year window that the syndicator had in the first place. I only wanted to go 4 years down the road anyway. And
Right.
so where before that would have disqualified me from being involved in this investment because of the liquidity that comes through the platform, I'm
Mhm.
able to do all of these things, right? And so that's really the beauty of what we're doing. And with our partnerships with Invinium, we're going to be able to show you on a very consistent basis what your asset is worth real time by a third party.
Mhm.
So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so too. And I feel that, I mean, you're passionate, like you're so passionate about it, you just love talking about it. And I seriously love that. The question for you is now, so as an investor, I'm thinking now I invested with you. Now I got the security tokens. So what kind of coins I'm gonna get now? Are there any coins related with the investment? Because people are just like, they usually have some coins whenever they're doing the DApps or some kind of magic on this blockchain. So they create their own coin because the
Right.
validators or people who are they say they're minting the coin. Minting the coin means because they're validating the transaction. So
Right.
any changes, any updates that you're getting on daily basis, weekly basis, quarterly basis, and the blocks are getting updated or new blocks being added. So all those people who are supposedly validating or minting the coin, what coin is going to be attached with this transaction?
So we will mint a coin specific to each syndication.
Mm-hmm.
So this one would be the Greenhurst token.
Mm-hmm.
Yours would be the North Carolina storage token, right? And that will continue. So when you have the cap table validation, that will be updated. When you have the transfer agent that says this is what's happened and who's transferred, this is where the chain's gone, this is who's been involved, this is who's gotten out, all of that is happening. And so you're going to be able to track that individually on your token,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not really going to be able to. This token isn't really going to go to Coinbase and be traded like Ethereum or Cardano or any of these like that, but you're going to be able to get in and out of this token because it's a digital security. And in that, you're not going to need my approval as a syndicator to liquefy and move in and out of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make a sense. And another question, follow-up question for you is, how do you decide the value of the token? If you
The
can explain
syndicator
that
tells
again.
me.
Mm-hmm.
So you can make them $1,000 tokens. You can make them $100 tokens. We look at it that I kind of look at it from a point of view from a little kid, right? I would rather have 50,000 tokens than five,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when we start talking about the division that's going to happen, I bought $100,000 of fiat into this project. It makes it very easy for me to think that I might want to sell a $500 increment. I might want to sell a $100 increment of this and not to get into fractions. So I've decided to do my PPM with $1 increments because it makes for easier math and I can see how the transfer is going to go. There may come a point when my $1 token is now worth $10 and I may want to divide that, but I kind of look at it like Berkshire Hathaway, right?
Mm-hmm.
He, in all of his wisdom, he has never split that stock, because Warren Buffett has always kept the thought process that the reason people split the stock is to then push it back up to its original value without its original asset base. But
Right.
because this is tied back to a physical asset, you're never really going to want to make this something that becomes so traded that you had, we raised $4 million on a $15 million asset. When we were done with that, we put it out there, we chopped it up so many times. Now we have $10 million in tokens out there in fiat, but it really only translates back to even a mature value of 6 million in tokens. And so we have this funny thing because at some point it's still got to be disseminated down to an asset that we sold and a profit that's taken.
Right.
And so unlike some tokens or some coins out there, there is a real value behind this that, I could see why somebody might pay you $1.10 for a dollar token because it works for them right now, and they know that in the future it's going to be worth $1.25. But
Mm-hmm.
this should prevent it from selling for $1.90
Mm-hmm.
when there's really only $1.25 in real value behind it because it is truly backed by real estate.
Mm. Wow, that's interesting. That's the question I had that you already answered, because your property might be 10 million and you kind of sold the token for 20 million. How are you going to recoup that? So you explained it very well. Thank you for doing that. But now the question here is you said the token is going to be property related. Every time there's a property, there's going to tokenization happen. There's a security token, and the coin is based on the security token, right? So I was talking about who are the nodes that are validating the transaction. How are they gonna get paid? Are they gonna get some kind of equity in the deal, or how that's gonna work? Who are validating the transaction on the blockchain itself?
So there
Like
are
the gas
fees.
money, the gas
Yeah,
money.
so there are fees involved. So when you're trading, if you go onto Coinbase, Coinbase charges about 7% for every transaction,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So we will be no different. Why? Because I mean, every time you use your Visa card,
Mm-hmm.
you're being charged 3% for that convenience
Exactly.
of carrying plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't recognize that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's on the shelf at the grocery store. So that dollar price is really coming across as $1.09,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you're paying. You're paying $1.09. They've already figured in the transaction. You know, I have some friends that they own a large chain of convenience stores,
Right.
and he said that they don't care if you bring them cash. They make a little bit more money, but that transaction fee for Visa is figured into every single transaction that they do. So when you buy a soda, they already know that they're getting a transaction fee that they've got to pay to Visa. We are the same way. So every time there's a trade that happens, there's a gas fee associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a transfer fee that happens with that. And there's also a premium for the platform because that's how we make our money,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
When we mint that token, there's an opportunity for the syndicator to choose whether they're going to pay for their syndication costs up front or whether they're going to come in with an introductory fee and a monthly associated fee because most people will choose to pay out of their profits than to pay up front, right?
Right.
And so you have a fee for being on the platform, you have a fee for the transactions, you have a fee for the convenience, but at the end of the day, when you really look at it, Vinky, if you were to look at this deal and go in 5 years, in 2 years, I'm going to do my value add, and in 2 years I'm going to do a refinance, and in 5 years I'm going to sell. You're going to have these two transaction fees. But what if you never had to do a refinance because you were able to sell and transact the tokens and recoup the extra funds? And what if you didn't have to sell because you were constantly able to bring in new investment partners that would want to continue to pay the appreciated price,
Mm-hmm.
thus keeping it in the syndicator's control perpetually? Wouldn't it be worth it to keep it on the platform and continue to operate the asset? Because the reality is, at the end of the day, most syndicators transact because everybody's wanting to realize that return. See, when we get involved in a syndication, we make some money monthly, but we make most of our money
And
at the end of
then,
5 years when we sell.
mm-hmm.
But what if you could take that money off the table every year? What if you could see that your coins, and let's just say that for the sake of argument, your asset was appreciating at 10% a year,
Mm-hmm.
because it's Friday and I want to do easy math. You invested $100,000,
Mm-hmm.
so you would sell 10,000 tokens every year.
Right.
You would still have $100,000 value in the asset, and you would be putting money in your pocket every single year. When those new people came in, they would be bringing new blood to the community, bringing new cash to the community, and it would change the way that that asset happened. So now you're essentially able to continue that going onward and onward and onward for a long period of time. And as you paid down the loan, there would be more tokens available.
More tokens are, well, you're floating more
Because
shares, like share, floating more shares out, which is good. So
exactly.
then on the investor's point of view, just like me as an investor, not a syndicator, so I do not have to wait till the exit to say, okay, I'm getting 2x returns or 1.95 returns or whatever, because
Right.
I have the security tokens. I can choose to sell it at my liberty anytime, whatever I want, and I can make maybe 2x returns in the first couple of years,
Right.
because I don't have to sell everything. I can sell portion of it. And then when you're selling the portion of it, and then if you're keeping in the crypto, there is an option for you, right? Let's say if you invest in Ethereum or Bitcoin, that's going up too. So
Exactly.
you're making money that way too. So it's like multiple options,
Right.
a whole new spectrum for people in the
Exactly.
investing arena, which is
Exactly.
like super awesome.
No, it is. And as your token becomes worth more value, because you have two things happening. You have your loan diminishing
Mm-hmm.
and you have your overall value going up, right? So then you have that ability to look at it and go, wow, my token is worth a lot more
Mm-hmm.
because the difference between the loan value and the overall asset value has grown and that equity is mine, right? And so you're able to by the cap table be able to sort that out and make the funds on that. And you may look at it and go, you know what? I don't need to make, I don't want to make two times on the money. Or you might say, wow, I come across this other deal that's really, really excellent. And I've made some good money on this one. And I want to go ahead and get out of this one and get into that one. Or I want to get some of it out or some of it not. It's just it provides complete flexibility in the hands of the syndicator as well as the investor to do as they choose.
But when do you get out of the deal then? I mean, if you look at the, bigger picture, seems like, okay, there's so many options or opportunities available staying in the deal. Why you want to exit? Wouldn't that create kind of scarcity in the market for the other syndicators who are looking for fishing for the good deals all the time?
It does, but it also allows you to decide as a syndicator. Let's just say, Vinky, that you decide that you're going to put this out and you're going to do a 10-year hold instead of a 5-year hold because you have the ability to allow your syndicators or your investors to leave at some point, right?
Mhm.
Let's just say that you decide you're still going to keep it at a 5-year hold. Your smart contract is going to know what to do there, right? Because I think we said this last time, the smart contract is not really smart. It has to be told what to do. It has to be programmed,
Exactly.
right?
Mhm.
So now when you know that smart contract is going to tell us we're going to sell in 5 years, it offers you the liquidity. But if you knew that your investors are going to be able to leave the deal as early as 366 days, would you really only go 5 years on your deal? Or would you look at it that says, I'm going to go 10 years on this deal and y'all can do what you want after 366 days so you could be completely out in 2 years if you wanted to? It's up to you, right? So syndicators will begin to think a little bit differently because of the platform.
Interesting. So on your platform, I think this is the last question. We are over time. Maybe I have to ask you to come back because this is so interesting topic. So on your platform, when I log in, do I get to see all the deals from different syndicators, or is it like I'm just like limited to see like for one
That's the
syndicator
beauty
only?
of it. So, as a platform, we're going to be advertising, trying to find investors, trying to find cash, bringing capital to the table. And so, you're going to be able to, when you log on, look at everything that you qualify for. So,
Hmm.
as a syndicator, you're going to want to be seen by everybody. So, you're going to come on the platform. Usually, most people come on as a C because then you can advertise. But since we're advertising the platform, you can come on as a B. And if the investor is accredited, he can see you. If the investor is not accredited, he can see you. If you're coming on only as a C, then you can only be seen by accredited investors. So the platform directs you based on what your level of KYC AML is. But if you choose as a syndicator to be seen by everybody will see you. So they'll come in and they'll see, because if we go back and look at the platform, there are 4 deals on there and they're not all mine. So you'll be able to see everybody's deal on there. It's going to be exciting because it's like CrowdStream and Coinbase got together and they had a little baby.
I know, I heard that before. But the funny thing I'm thinking about is, how the different syndicators gonna feel about that, because right now, everybody's kind of trying to fish in the same pond for the money. And then if you bring everything on the same portal, right now still there is like, certain things are hidden, certain are open, 506Bs, people do not know, 506Cs, people advertising. So not everybody knows about all the deals. But on your portal is kind of open platform, all let's say, assume 20 syndicators are there. So the investors, they just like voila buffet, they can just pick and choose whosoever they wanted to go with. So how would the syndicator feel at that point?
Well, and this is the thing. We are going to bring more value than you're going to lose, in our opinion. So when we have a crypto IRA with millions and millions of dollars of knowledgeable blockchain people waiting for you to put your deal on, I don't think it's going to scare you that your people are going to also see my deal, right? Our goal is to create an environment that, look, if you don't want your people to see it, okay, you can put it on here to only be seen by them, and you can keep all of your people in the dark, right? I mean, if you want to do that, the reality is that I believe we will bring more investors to you than you will be hiding from us.
Interesting. Wow. This was really, really insightful, Shannon. Oh my God. I feel like I'm more knowledgeable after talking to you, as always. Thank you so much for your time. And I love to have another episode with you and dig in a little bit deeper from the syndication side of it. What would it look like?
Yeah. Well, be more than happy to. Vicky, as always, I love talking with you. I love talking about something we're both passionate about. It makes the hour that we've been on here fly by.